Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for Innovate and Caffeinate today. My name is Melanie Tapp, and I am with the Hopkins County Innovate and Caffeinate, and we also have with us Christian County Innovate and Caffeinate, as well as Murray Callaway County. We're so glad you're here, and we appreciate everything that you are doing each and every week. So today, we are joined by some of our Henderson partners. I'm excited to introduce you to Missy Vanderpool. Missy is the executive director for the Henderson Economic Development Corporation. And she and Colin Taylor from the Heat Lab have teamed up to bring us a really exciting presenter this morning. So we're so excited to have you. And Missy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
And all of our partners with the virtual regional Innovate and Caffeinate. We're excited to have Jessica Beaven with us today. Jessica is a native of Henderson. She graduated from Western Kentucky University in 2009 with a bachelor's degree. Jessica is actively involved in our community and serves as the program chair for Henderson Lions Club, serves on the executive committee of the Sandy Lee Watkins Songwriters Fest, serves on the board of Partnership for Women and the Henderson Senior Center. She's also a graduate and a fellow of the Henderson Leadership Initiative, Union County Leadership Program, and has been employed as Director of Marketing for St. Anthony's Hospice and Colonial Assisted Living, served as Administrator for Colonial Assisted Living, and currently a developer for a new senior living community in Henderson called Homeplace of Henderson, and she will serve as the executive director there. Today we probably could have called this inspired and caffeinated, because Jessica is definitely inspiring to listen to. So we're going to turn it over to Jessica.
Thank you, Missy. I really appreciate it a lot. I'm very honored to be with you all today and tell you about our community that we are building in Henderson. Again, it is called the Homeplace of Henderson. But I also want to talk about how we got here. How I started in the senior living industry and how my heart has led us to this point. So I'm going to go back, and what she alluded to is I was the marketing director at the assisted living here in Henderson. I started there in March of 2010. And I started there, I had gone in for an interview and did not know that senior living was going to be what excited me or was going to be my calling. So I met with the director there at the community in Henderson, and we talked over the job responsibilities, and he hired me that day on the spot. He said, if you want it, it's yours. And I didn't know what to say. I accepted it because I had just graduated from Western Kentucky about 4 months prior to this interview. I had worked at Methodist Hospital before that, and I accepted the position. So when I started there, all kinds of thoughts went through my mind. How could I handle it? I get very close to people, and I know in senior living, we do see that people have to move on for different purposes, for more care. They may, obviously we may lose someone, which is very difficult. But within a few short months, I knew I was where I was supposed to be. And I enjoyed my time with these folks, and I loved listening to their stories and helping their families decide where they were going to send their loved one when colonial was no longer the option for them. Being a small community in Henderson, I worked every job. I think that was kind of where I was able to gather most of my personal experiences from. I changed light bulbs. I delivered the mail to everyone in that community. I transported people to their doctor's appointments. A lot of times they would be upset with me because their doctor would say, "Okay, Miss Smith, have you eaten today?" And then she would say yes, and I'd say, "Miss Smith, let's be honest." And we would try to encourage them so they could live with us longer to tell every detail to their physicians. And we encouraged that because we didn't want to lose them because we were family. So, working every job in that position started out in a good place for me. I grew as a professional and as an individual and had a greater respect for people of older age. I was always really close to my grandparents, but I definitely knew at that point I was where I was supposed to be, and my calling had been made. So, after years of working in the senior living and mostly in assisted living is where I was, and working for St. Anthony's Hospice for a couple years, towards the tail end of my career, with my prior employer, I kept thinking about how can we do more for seniors? How can we provide the quality service, and provide more care inside these environments without having to have people relocate outside of Henderson, or people who want to be in Henderson because their families are here, not have to go across the bridge and be staying in our hometown. So that is what inspired Homeplace of Henderson. I'm going to share my screen with you all of a PowerPoint. The Homeplace of Henderson, again, will be a state-certified assisted living and memory care here in Henderson. It is opening, the planned opening of the project is in spring of 2021. So that is kind of the synopsis of the plan for our community. The reason that this plan was started, again, I touched base on, but my husband and I, who he as well has some experience in senior care, we had a vision. We would stay up at night and we would talk about people who needed more help. And there was a fine line of what we could offer at our current options in our community. But we felt like there was a, identifiable gap that we needed to provide. So 3 things that we recognized is quality was one thing that we needed to do better at. Working in the senior living industry, you do hear family members, loved ones, worry, and undoubtedly so. We all worry about our children, our loved ones all the time. So quality was something that we'd heard very commonly amongst our peers and families. The service was another one. We knew that if you held an assisted living certification license, you could operate a memory care underneath that license. Going back to the time I can remember several people that we had to not be able to care for because of their cognitive development. They had gotten worse with dementia or another form of dementia, whether that be Lewy bodies or Alzheimer's. We weren't able to meet their needs in our current settings in Henderson, outside of a skilled nursing facility. And a lot of times when your memory is starting to get worse, you don't necessarily have or require a skilled need. You just need more activities geared towards that diagnosis. You need more secure settings where staff is trained to assist you with your needs, because your needs are going to be different than that of a maybe your normal assisted living client that would move in due to needing just some basic assistance. The other thing that we had kept seeing is that people were maybe being admitted to a skilled nursing facility prematurely. We noticed that people were being relocated outside of Henderson, or outside of other areas, of course, but we wanted to keep people who wish to stay in an assisted living setting as long as we possibly could and as safely as we possibly could. So those were 3 things that we identified for our community. Services at Homeplace will also be of the utmost importance. We realize that as we age, things do get more expensive. Your care becomes more expensive. A lot of families worry about how they're going to pay for the service. But we know that services directly affect a cost, and we want to ensure families that you're paying for what you get. and the services that we will offer. Again, is memory care. We will offer a specialized memory care setting where all of our staff will be trained. I myself just received my certified dementia practitioner and training, and I am going to train my staff with that same education so that they can understand what these clients are going through at this time. Assisted living, we realize that not two residents are alike. So what I do for resident A is not going to be the same for resident B. Resident A may be an independent individual who lives there for socialization and meals. Resident B, we may go see at home and they've not bathed for a couple weeks due to, they're afraid of getting in their bathtub. They may make accidents on themselves, and we need to ensure that they're changing clothes every day. So our approach is always and will be a personalized approach to assure the family that their loved one's going to be cared for in the way that they envision their care. The other thing that we believe in is staff. The more staff you have, the better service delivery you can provide. And we are going to have a 6-to-1 ratio in memory care, which means that for every 6 memory care residents, you will have a caregiver. That is a great ratio, a great number. We will also have our director of memory care back there on top of caregivers. We will also have an activity director back there because our activity program will be a lot different in memory care than it is in assisted living. Our assisted living will provide a 12-to-1 ratio. So every 12 residents will have a caregiver. Again, additional staff on site will be available to them as well. But that ratio is superb. I mean, in a lot of facilities, the average for the state is about 18-to-1 or 20-to-1 per assisted living resident. And that increases on overnight hours a lot of the times. We realize that technology is changing. We need to innovate with the technology that's available for us now. We need to integrate this and provide a better communication to our families. If you want to know what your loved one's been doing that day, we want to be able to let you know. We want you to know everything. In our memory care, we will provide technology that if someone is wanting to, get out, kind of exit seek, we'll be able to know that. We want them to do it safely. We want them to wander in a safe environment. And through that, technology will be put into place. All the staff will be cross-trained at Homeplace. We want them to have the most education in how to deal with people of both sides of the aisle, those in assisted living and those in memory care, how to redirect behaviors, how to verbal cue residents, how to do it in a way that that client always has dignity, always has respect, in the way, again, that our loved ones, we envision their care. The design is completely different. If you all are familiar in your local communities, assisted livings or even nursing facilities are definitely designed where you look down a hallway and you have the long halls and corridors and things like that. But our design's a lot differently. As you can see, we envision homes instead of hotel style living arrangements. We have 4 assisted living units, but we will only start with 3. So we'll start out with 36 assisted livings, and we will have 24 memory care apartments. With that being said, the 36 assisted living will all be private outside of a married couple that may want to live together. We will provide a studio and a 1-bedroom that will be larger to scale than our competitors. We made those larger so that we could have more units And we see in my experience that a lot of people prefer a 1-bedroom or studio due to cost. Even married couples, in my experience, wanted that 1-bedroom. Our private memory care apartments, no individual back in memory care will share a apartment. We feel as though that if someone does have a diagnosis, the safer thing for peace of mind for families and for us is that each one of those individuals should have their own private apartment. They will not share. They'll have private bathrooms, private closets, everything. So we're very excited about that opportunity. So again, when you walk out of the room, out of your apartment, private apartment, the vision will be a home. You'll have a kitchen, you'll have a dining area. So it won't be the long hauls where you have to walk up 300 feet to go visit people. You'll have people right outside your door to help you get to an activity, or you can share a meal with 2 or 3 people instead of a big congregate dining area. So that's nice. We have parking available outside the homes. In a lot of communities, you see parking, tends to be away from the apartment, not right outside their door. Our vision is that people will live here that are independent. So we want them to have that feeling of a home like they do currently at their home, to be able to walk out and get in their vehicle outside their home. The other thing, again, the design process behind this was that the short walking distances are important. A lot of people, as we get older, have problems with walking long distances. So we wanted to ensure that if they wanted to participate or if they wanted to get out and have a cup of coffee with others, it was right outside their apartment, and they had access not only in their apartment, but access right outside their door into their homes. The other thing that we took into consideration when we did this is we knew that a residential care community for seniors, it was important. The location is important. As we get older, we still want to be included, and we still want to feel as a part of our community as much as possible. So we were able to partner with a local Hendersonian and talk with him about our design and tell him about our passion for this. And he agreed that this was a needed business in our community. So we were able to get a location off Green River Road in Henderson. This adjoins the city golf course that is in Henderson. It's called the Bridges. It's surrounded by 3 well-known local neighborhoods. If you're familiar with John James Audubon State Park, it's in our front yard. We have a lot of wildlife. We see deer, all kinds of things right now, even under construction. It's on the north end of Henderson, where the other the other assisted living is on the opposite end of town. And then we are developing 2 handicap accessible fishing lakes that will be available for our clients in the summertime or when the weather's nice, that they can go out and fish and be active. We want our folks to be active. We want to be able to care for them and feel like they're a part of their home, and they have a lot of say in what will be designed and the daily activities that we will do. I also wanted to touch base. We will create 50 new jobs in the Henderson workforce when we open in spring of 2021. Our average wage at the home place will be $14 per hour. This is a look at our construction currently. Our community is site work is being completed currently. We have ran into some issues, of course, with rain, which is to be expected. But we are very pleased with the amount of work that's being done. So we are very excited. That is a look at just this week at the lot. As you can see in the middle picture, out in the background is the city golf course. We have our sign out there. We are actively taking reservations for our community because we are aware of the need in our community. And so that is a current look at our building, or what's being going on at the site currently. To finish out my presentation, I wanted to go ahead and just kind of define again, why Homeplace? Why are we doing this? Why do we, why is this needed? We will hold again an assisted living and memory care certificate by the Department of Aging and Independent Living in Kentucky. We want and we will be designed to help with ongoing health changes with greater levels of access to staff. We want to employ more people so that your loved one can live in a setting of their choice longer, and provide the additional services on site, again, with greater access, but also technology. Our apartments are going to be larger. Our technology will provide great service and proactive care. We want to be ahead of the 8 ball, not behind it. We want to ensure that you all know what's going on at all times. Our owners, myself, my husband, born and raised in Henderson, we are local. The part of this project that we feel very blessed in is that we had to raise some money to do this project. And we spent several months and nights talking to people about the project. And one of the things that I want to end on is, don't ever give up. Continue what you're doing. We were able to garner enough money to do the project. Not only are we local, but all the investors that have put their time and funds in this project are local as well. So we are all from Henderson doing to support our local people, and we feel very honored to do this. So at this time, I'll take questions if you all have any. There is a image of there on the right of one of the homes that we are building that I've talked about. My cell phone number, email address, and our website is also listed on there. So I will take questions, and I'm thankful to be here. And thanks for the opportunity, both Missy, Melanie, and the economic development folks.
Okay, Jessica, we do have a couple of questions that have come in. The first one that came in starting your own business, what were some of the lessons you've learned so far that could help other people that are wanting to start their own business?
Well, when I left my job, I had resigned from my former employer back in August of 2019. And at that point, my husband and I were, I guess, we knew we were wanting to follow our dreams, and we did not know if this, in fact, was going to happen, but we had a good inclination that we felt very confident in our business plan. And so what I would say to that is, don't give up, continue to fight. We've ran into some concerns. I mean, we always have ran into things. The city of Henderson has been super helpful. We've been able to overcome obstacles. We have a budget, and that's one of our biggest things right now is to practice within your budget and coincide with other people who may have a different outlook and be able to help you. We think more people means more power, and we're very blessed to have great people involved, and just ask questions and research is my best suggestion.
That's great. And I think it does help when you have community partners that are willing to help and reach out and collaborate with. Another question we have you had any issues, or has there been anything that has arisen because of COVID-19 during your planning and development?
Absolutely. We were concerned when the restrictions were put into place about the development and what it would do to our site work. Would we slow down? Would we be able to do that? Thankfully, we have not been slowed down. We are doing business as normal and taking all the precautions on site with the 6 feet away, with a hand washing station to ensure that people are practicing what has been set by the governor. So all of our folks out there on site, we have been, again, lucky to continue it as normal. Site work is happening as normal. And luckily through this pandemic, I have just finished our disaster and infectious disease preparedness manual, and with the guidance of some local senior living communities in Kentucky, have taken all these things into consideration. I can say it's been a definite learning experience for us, and we feel very lucky to put these things in practice when we open in spring of 2021.
That's awesome. And we have one more question so far. From start to finish, about how long did it take for you to raise the capital from your investors?
We started, I think it took us roughly from the day that we started designing our business plan and putting paper to pencil, which took a long time. It took us honestly, it took us about 4 to 6 months from a business plan perspective, because it was something we had talked about for a long time, a dream of mine since March of 2010, I guess you can say. But anyway, that is 4 to 6 months. We had some people in mind that we wanted to talk to. Our families have been involved in this. We have their support, which is something you can't speak enough about. But we were able in about 4 to 6 months to get the capital, get the bank on board, and continue with the project.
Wonderful. I've got one more. I thought that was the last question. We had another
That's
one
okay.
pop up. It's a scary time for people living in long-term care. If there is a second wave, what has this taught you for when you open?
I will tell you, we relooked at our design and we thought about the things that if there was to be a second wave in the future and what that's going to look like for Homeplace. We think the design is ideal for this as much as it can be because of the small homes versus the big congregate common areas that we see most often in senior living communities. We also are going to have plenty of PPE equipment before we ever open, stocked up to keep our residents safe. Again, the technology, being able to put things in place with visitors entering the building, putting policies in place prior to opening. I feel like my husband and I are ready if in the event this does have a second wave in many different ways.
Wonderful. And another one came in. So far, what has been the biggest obstacle in opening a facility like this?
I think the biggest obstacle that we have faced, I think, in this, since we started the project and it put a lot of thought and heart into it, I would say the biggest obstacle really was being able to find a location in Henderson that we imagined. We knew that we did not want just any place, and we knew that we wanted people, even as we get older, to feel a part of something and to have interactions. And so we were lucky. We drive out there almost daily and we say, this is awesome, and it wasn't easy. We looked around and there was a lot of places that weren't available. There is an I-69 that may be going through Henderson, and so that posed an issue. But thankfully, after much time and effort, we were able to work with a local gentleman, and that was an obstacle, was finding the right location.
Okay, I don't think there's any more questions.
Okay.
So, thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. And again, anytime I can be of any help or a resource of any kind, I am very happy to.
Jessica, thank you so much. We have loved having you today. We've all been monitoring Facebook pages, and I want to let you know there's been tons of comments on here just about what an incredible opportunity this is. So I invite you to go to some of our Innovate and Caffeinate pages later and kind of read some of those positive comments. But, as you're watching, if you are interested in starting an Innovate and Caffeinate in your community, we invite you to join us. I'm Melanie. My email is mtap@westcentralky.com. Give me an email and we'll talk, and we would love to get your Kentucky community involved in Innovate and Caffeinate. And so, as you know, right now we are meeting weekly. So next week, Christian County Innovate and Caffeinate is going to be hosting Sarah Whitaker from Williams Advertising. So that is next Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning, right here on Facebook Live via all of our Innovate and Caffeinate pages. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.